I just finished filming this fun and festive New Year's Eve makeup look. So if you want to see how to get this full-on glam, keep watching this video. But before you do, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. And let's get right into it. So as usual, my skin's prepped and my eyebrows are on just to save us both a lot of time. But I'm gonna add a little lip balm. I've been loving this one from Make. It's their Lip Reset Mask. This smells like really sweet lemons, like lemon candy. Add a little lip balm before I start the rest of my makeup because my lips are super dry. Now I'm gonna be doing my eyes before anything for this makeup look because this is going to be like an eye focus. It's gonna be like really fun eyes, like party eyes. So that's gonna be the focus of this whole makeup look. And now I did cheat a little bit. I did my brows and I also have a little bit of concealer underneath my brows just to kind of get the eye prep going. But I'm gonna finish my eye prep with the Makeup by Mario. It's the Master Eye Prep and Set in Medium. And just using a 212 brush from BK Beauty. I'm just gonna use this to blend on. I'm just gonna go between these two shades just to make it nice and neutral. And just buff it all across where I have redness and some discoloration, and you can see that I have like visible veins on my eyelids right here. So just working this just to kind of color correct and brighten my eyelids before I go in with my eye makeup. I talk about this a lot, but this is just the perfect way to cancel out any pigmentation you have in your eyelids. So that way when you put your eyeshadows on top, especially if you're gonna do like a fun, more bold color, they'll show up more true to their tone and they'll be just more pigmented and vibrant if you start out with a very, like a blank canvas, basically. Now I am gonna use the powder also in the same set. It's this powder right here. And just with a fluffy brush, I'm gonna press this onto my eyelids just to set these areas into place so there's no creasing later on. If you watch my full face Makeup by Mario video, you know that I bought this for that video in particular, and I have been using it every single day on myself. It is extremely handy. Now to start my eye makeup look officially, I'm just gonna grab one of my bronzers that I'm loving at the moment. It's the Make Skin Mimetic, I have a really hard time saying that, Skin Mimetic Micro Suede Bronzer in Aura. It's a very long name, but it's a very pretty bronzer, so it's worth it. And I'm gonna blend that into my crease with a BK Beauty 201 blending brush and just use this as my transitional shade in my crease. So before I get to the fun, all the fun parts of this makeup look, I'm gonna add a little bit of depth and interest to my crease. So just going back and forth, building up the colors slowly. And you'll notice too that I blended it out way out towards my temple. So by doing this technique, I'm just really widening my eye shape. And I'm just going for a really big, bold eye look. So this is gonna help to kind of map that out for me. I'm just gonna press one more powder into my eyelid, and using the 239 from MAC, I'm just pressing on the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder from Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Fair. It's the lightest shade, and I just wanna add a little, very, very subtle, natural brightness to my eyelid before I do my eyeliner. And I'm using this one over the Makeup by Mario one that I just used earlier because this has more pigment to it, so it's gonna just be brighter on my eyelid. Taking the Victoria Beckham liner in Fig. This is like a deep, really, really rich purple. I love this liner so much. They're very like, if you ever try this formula, they're very soft. Like if you press them on too hard, you'll smash them and you'll wreck them. So you have to be a little more ginger with these liners, but they're an incredible liner. And they blend out like unbelievably. So I'm gonna apply this in a wing shape. And then as I get towards the inner part of my eye, I don't wanna close up my eye shape and I don't want this liner to be too thick. I want it to be very tapered as it gets towards the inner part of my eye. So a good trick in order to achieve that and keep that look is to switch from being on the outside of your lash line to then going in the inside to connect those two lines together. So that way you get like the ultimate like tapered effect. This is also really handy if you have more hooded eyes or hooded eyelids. This is a great technique to use so you really don't close up your eye shape anymore. So just a little tip. Now taking a Morphe Makeup by L'Oreal collection blending brush, any small blending brush will do. I'm gonna lightly blend this out. And I'm sorry ahead of time if this tutorial is a little more quiet. This is more of an eyeliner focus, or it is an eyeliner focused makeup look. So I can't do much talking when I'm doing this eyeliner unless I want it to be completely messed up, which I don't. Now I'm starting with my pinky on my chin or on my cheek just to get stabilization, because this is like a, you know, more intense eyeliner look. So if you struggle with this or you have like a shaky hand, or if you're just not sure of like, you know, how to do it, this is gonna give you a really nice stable grip. So you can then find your position and start to work and draw that wing. It just basically gives you a steady hand. So I'm starting where my top and bottom lash line connect, like that little inner corner. I'm starting right here on like this little nook, and then pulling that liner straight out towards my temple. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, I'm gonna correct it and I'm gonna blend it out, all those things. So just getting that initial line out. In fact, to go a little higher up on this side, I forgot. This is my more hooded eye, so the side's gonna look really messy to start, but that's okay. I'm gonna start to taper it as I go in. And then going in my waterline. Okay, initial line is done. Going back to that blending brush. I'm gonna lightly blend it out. And this is also where you can kind of manipulate the shape more too as you're blending it out. So if you don't get the line perfect initially when you're applying it with that pencil, which is really hard to do because the pencils are thick, right? This is your time to perfect it and like fine tune the shape even before you go and clean it up. So the way I want to use this eyeliner, I should actually mention, is as my base color. So I'm going to be putting a totally different color on top of this. But what this is going to do is it's going to be our base, and like kind of like our primer for the eyeshadow that I'm going to put on top to stick to. And it's going to be a lighter color too that I'm putting on top, which if you're starting with a darker base, it's just going to add that depth and dimension that you want underneath, so it's not flat. Okay, so this might look a little crazy. These are a ton of Shiseido individual eyeshadows that the brand had sent me like sometime last year. They're fully pigmented color shadows. They all came like individual, like I said, and I depawed them all because they were like, imagine all these individual, you know? So I'm not gonna walk around with all those in my makeup kit. They're a really great formula, I'm not gonna lie. They're really, really nice. I use this actually for, if you follow me on Instagram where you watched my short, I did a Jasmine makeup look for Halloween. Princess Jasmine, and I used this as my eyeshadow and it was stunning. But the funny thing is these are so pigmented that this actually stained one of my favorite makeup brushes, and it temporarily stained my eyelids just a little bit because I put so much on that day. Long story short, they're really good shadows. I'll make sure I link the exact name of this shadow, which is the one I'm going to use right now, in the description box. I don't know what it is because it doesn't say on the back, which is really annoying, so I'll have to like deep dive and find that shade for you all. Taking that same blending brush, I'm going to dip into whatever this shade is, we will find out later on, and start to layer this on top of that pencil. And what I'm doing initially is pressing it on so I don't have a crazy amount of fallout, and also just so the pigment is a little more intense. This shade is so pretty. You know, what time other than like Halloween, right, are you gonna do an eye makeup like this? Like New Year's Eve is when you bust out your glitter and your rhinestones and your tackiest earrings and your like funnest shoes and all those things. If you're gonna do something, there's nothing wrong with not doing any of those things and just sitting on your couch in your pajamas, in my opinion. So like I said, it's gonna be messy for a minute. You're gonna have to hang in there with me until I clean it up. Just trust the process. Makeup is such a process. Even when you're doing natural makeup, it's a process no matter what. And now that I'm happy with it overall, like I'm happy with how much I've pressed on, I'm gonna go back with more of that shadow. I'm gonna start to buff it out and blend out even more and make it a little more blown out and fun. So pretty. This shadow is so pretty. We're done with this color for now. I'm gonna dip into this really rich metallic black in the same deep potted palette. Same brush. I'm just gonna take a little bit of this and line right by my lash line for some extra depth. It's not gonna seem like much on camera, but in person, it's those little subtle things that you add up to be just a really impactful makeup look. So just adding a little bit of depth with that black eyeshadow, keeping it close to my lash line. Not going all the way across. And just gonna give it that extra like something, you know, like that little extra depth that you'd want with this kind of liner. Using a pencil brush. Just gonna buff out that edge and diffuse it a little more before I clean it up. If you have hooded eyes, this is where you want to keep your eyes open for this part. Fortunately for me, I ran out of my pointed Q-tips, so we're gonna make do with a full-on, full-size Q-tip. Because I forgot to order my favorites. I get them on Amazon. I'll link them, I promise, really, really soon in a video. I just have not gone around to filming that video. I'm so sorry. But I just soaked it in micellar water, cinched it together, like tightened it, so it's a little bit more, a little bit thinner. Now, looking straight ahead in the mirror, I'm going to clean up the bottom edge of this liner. Now, I'm not going to worry about this line too much because I'm going to buff it out with concealer anyway. Okay, now for the funnest part. I'm going to bust out a glitter that I have not used yet. It's so funny because like it's a Lakers themed glitter. I got it from Colourpop and it's like a jelly type texture. But this glitter, I've been waiting to use this. I've only ever like swatched it. I've never used it on. I've never actually used it for a makeup look, so I'm very, very excited. It's an excessive amount of this stuff, but I'm just gonna take it on my fingertip so I have a little more control, and I'm going to be very careful with it, basically. So I'm putting it all over my eyelid and into my crease. And just carefully avoiding that purple pink liner. So just to layer a little bit more of this stuff, I'm gonna use a random Huda Beauty brush that I got in PR. Yeah, okay, that's what I needed. Oh yeah. I'm very happy with this glitter. It feels a little chunky on my eyelids, I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm gonna get used to it. And you know, like I said, this is like the fun part about a New Year's Eve themed makeup tutorial. Come on, you know? Gotta like bust out like fun things like glitter. Moving on to mascara. I'm gonna use one of my favorites. Trying to use this up before I open up any more mascaras that I have like sitting over here ready for me to like open up and try, and I'm so excited to, but I'm trying so hard not to be wasteful and just to like get through a couple mascaras before I open up a new one. I know, like ridiculous problems, but you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't want to keep opening up a new formula every single time. Now onto lashes. I'm gonna add a half lash, so I'm gonna use just one of these lashes. I do this all the time. These are the Ardell lashes in 420. They're like a really soft, wispy lash. So I'm gonna carefully take this off and then cut it straight down the middle on 2 little half lashes. Now that technique only works if you're using a lash that is not tapered. Like it has to be the same length from outer to inner. And then I'm gonna use the Duo Lash Glue. I love this glue so much. Like this will keep your lashes on through a storm. This is my lash so I can blow on it. It's my favorite joke because when I worked at Mac, the trainers would like drill it into your head that if you blew on the lash when you're doing someone's makeup, you were like in so much trouble. So every time I blow on it, I have to remind myself almost that like this is my lash. And I can do whatever the hell I want to it. I can blow on it, I can throw it on the floor, pick it up, and then put it back on my eye. Which I won't do, but pop that on the outer corner of the eye. But the reason why you would want to blow on your lash, just a little FYI, like a side note, is to make that glue tacky quicker. So the tackier your glue is, when you go to put it on your lash line, if it's tacky, it's going to stick right away. If it's sopping wet, like you just applied it to the band, you're going to have a really hard time with it. So now I'm just taking my fingertips and squeezing my lashes in with the half lash. So while my lashes dry down, I'm going to be putting on my foundation. I'll be using the Very Valentino foundation. The shade I've been using is MN3. Now, just a little disclaimer. It's not my perfect match, okay? So just, I want to fully prepare you. If you haven't seen me apply this foundation yet, it's going to look a little off initially until I blend it out. So just bear with me. I'm being a tightwad and I'm not going out and buying the right shade. The brand sent me the shade and it's like close enough that I want to still keep using it, and I really, really like this formula. So I'm going to blend it on with one of my favorites. This is a BK Beauty 106 brush. This has been the ultimate foundation brush for me. Like, when I don't have, I have multiples of this brush, and when I don't have a clean one, it's the only brush that I'll actually clean just so I could use it for the day, which I've really never like felt that way about a foundation brush before. Okay, so like I said, initially going on, it looks a little too dark, but once it's blended out, it's giving me a nice cohesive one tone to my whole body. It's matching my actual physical being, which is my body. So that's the most important part. Just blend it down my neck a teeny bit. And I will say, like, this gives quite a bit of coverage. Like, it's a very like full medium coverage in my opinion, and it's got a nice like glowy but satin finish to it. So I feel like if you have oily skin, you can still use this foundation. It will give you like that really pretty glow without being over the top. And if you have more dry skin, this is just nice, like a really, really nice formula. So taking more of that foundation, I'm going to start to stipple this on just to get a little bit of extra coverage right here where I need it the most. And also hopefully to cover up those 2 pimples on my face that just won't leave. They won't go away. They're totally flat, and I guess they're going to be a scar. I never touched them, didn't pick them, didn't try to pop them. I didn't do anything. I just scar so easy. Like, you could flick me and I will bruise and scar. It's crazy. Okay. Foundation looks great now, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off my lip balm. I'm going to run my foundation brush over my lips. Just a little bit. My husband loves this look for some reason. Like, he always gets excited when I do this. It's the funniest thing. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to add a little bit of color corrector to under my eyes. It's the Bobbi Brown corrector in light peach. And then using my fingertips, which I think is the best way to apply this product in particular. I'm just going to press this under my eyes just where I have the darkest pigmentation. So right here. That's all you need to do. So not to throw shade, but when you see some makeup tutorials online or on TikTok where people put a crap ton of color corrector from here to all over their face, and then they put a load of concealer on top to basically cover that up, it's so unnecessary. Like, use the amount that you need, right? So like, this is the only bit that I need. If you have more darkness like around your eye, then of course pat it in those areas as well. But my point is, color corrector is used so excessively for like shock value, it just really bothers me. So I'm gonna warm up my skin even more using the Makeup by Mario. It's the Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick in the shade Medium. And using another BK Beauty brush that I love. This is a 107. I'm gonna just work it into the bristles of that brush and then go in and apply it. And I'm gonna apply it to the very, very top of my forehead where it connects to my hairline. And just press it. I'm just looking for a little soft literally a soft sculpt with this. Makeup by Mario nailed it with the names of most of his products. Like soft sculpt, it totally makes sense. Like it's a soft sculpt. The naming, the branding, it's so good. Taking a little bit to softly sculpt my cheek. It's right here. I'm going to apply a concealer next, and this is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer in Vanilla Swirl. I'm going to hit all the areas that I normally highlight, and of course under my eyes as well. Hold that thought. I forgot to do something. I'm so sorry. Taking a small number 19 brush from Sephora, I'm just going to take that soft sculpt one more time. I forgot to shade the side of my nose, which I usually do this before I do my under eye concealer just because they blend better in that order. So hold on. Let's add this to the mix really quick just to give my nose that soft sculpt. Continuing on with concealer. I'm going to highlight this area of my face that's a little more shadow, just to bring it back forward. Try to straighten out my nose. Highlight the top of my chin, center of my forehead, and then straight down the bridge of my nose. And then let's do a little bit right here too, just give my lips a little lift. Okay, highlighting and concealing is done. I'm gonna lightly blend out the edges of this just a little bit before I fully blend it out using a e.l.f. Cosmetics beauty sponge. Just came in like a pack of 3. It's like a little trio of sponges. This is like the medium size. It's slightly damp, so it's expanded. This size is great. Just tapping it in, keeping the coverage. Clean up that little edge. Bring it down my nose, and then squeezing it. Before I set my under eye concealer, I'm going to go in with a pink toned highlighter. This is from Westman Atelier. It's the shade, or it's the super loaded tinted highlight in Powder Rose. Powder Rose. I always butcher this name. Powder Rose. We'll go with that. I'm going to apply it with a Real Techniques 206 brush. Any small like blending brush like this will do. And I'm going to work this onto my cheeks. This has a slight pink hue to it, so it's going to give me like a little bit of a blush effect. But I'm still going to go over it with more blush. Now that my concealer has dried down a lot more, I'm going to go in with a small blending brush from BK Beauty. It's an A502 brush, and just blend out those creases before I go in and actually set my concealer. Now to set my under eye concealer, I'm going to use the Givenchy No. 3 powder. It's the loose powder. This has a pink hue to it. You know, I love this for under my eyes so much. And just taking a small powder puff from Amazon, I'm going to dip into that powder and press it right underneath my eye. And then along my smile lines and the side of my nose. And basically any of the areas I highlighted on my face, I'm going to set that with this powder. And then center of my forehead, right between my brows and right above my brows, and a little on my temple. And then with whatever's left over on my powder puff, which is not much, I'm just gonna press it onto the top of my forehead. Because now I'm gonna go in with that same powder bronzer that I used earlier for the crease in my eyes, just for a little more warmth and also to set that cream bronzer that I applied earlier. So it's gonna lock it into place. It's going to enhance it just a little bit more. So just buffing it on with a Morphe Makeup by Ardell brush. This is like the large powder brush that comes in that set. I'm taking a little bit more, just right underneath my cheekbone. Moving on to blush, I'll be applying the powder blush from MAC Cosmetics. It's the Extra Dimension Blush in Rosy Cheeks, and applying it with an angled brush. This one's from Zoeva. It's a 127 Luxe Sheer Cheek. So I don't want this to be overly pigmented. So I'm just gonna tap off the excess. Start small. But I really wanted this blush to be like a complement and in the same color family as the eyeliner, just to play off of it, just to kind of have like a fun, colorful, monochromatic moment. This also has a little bit of a glow to it too, which I think is so pretty. It doesn't look like a powdery blush. It looks like it almost looks like a cream blush. And then with whatever's left over, I'm just gonna sweep it lightly across my forehead. And tap into it a little bit more. A little across my nose, just a touch. For like some healthy warmth. Okay, now going back to that Westman Atelier highlighter, I'm gonna add a little bit of this to my tear duct using a Zoeva 223 brush. I'm gonna use this in my tear duct right here. Just for a little highlight. Pretty. And a little bit on the top of my nose, the top of the bridge of my nose. And then the tip of my nose, I love to highlight here. Now that my under eyes are set, I'm gonna go back to that bronzer one last time, and let's find a small blending brush for that. Taking another A504 brush from BK Beauty, I'm gonna dip into that bronzer and work this on my bottom lash line just to complete this eye makeup look. Glitter totally transferred my eyeliner again. Okay, lesson learned. I guess I probably should have tested that glitter out prior to this video, but you know, we learned together. I'm gonna buff it out and reapply that glitter. It'll all be good. It's definitely a bummer that it transferred so low to my liner, but you know, what are you gonna do? Finish up my bottom lash line with more of that mascara. And a little more on my lashes on the top and my falsies just to kind of blend them together a touch more. Before I move on to lips, I'm gonna add a little more of that pink eyeshadow with that pencil brush to my bottom lash line, just to really tie this look together. Just going about halfway. Okay, we are ready to move on to lip. And so for lip, I want to keep the lip just super soft and more understated because this is like the focal point. You want to keep it that way. The eyes are going to be the focus and pretty much nothing else. So I'm going to go with one of my tried and true nude lip liners. This is MAC's Oak lip liner. I love this lip liner so much. I'm not going to go all the way across my bottom lip, leaving like a little quarter on each end out, just so it's not so like severe. And for lip, finally, we're at that moment. I'm going to use Thinks It's MAC from MAC. It's one of my favorites, like natural pink lipsticks. Oh yeah, so pretty. But like this combo, Oak lip liner with this lipstick is so good. And by the way, if I sound tired, it's because every night this past week, my husband and I have stayed up extremely late to watch Love is Blind because we're so sucked into it. So I've been getting a lot less sleep this week in particular. We're like hooked. Like it's actually sick. We can't stop watching it. We are going to bed way past our bedtime and we wake up at the crack of dawn for work. So if I sound a little more hoarse than usual, it's because of Love is Blind. Final step in this makeup tutorial is setting it. And I finally went out and bought myself one of these. I have one in my kit. It's the Veil Soft Focus Setting Spray from Hourglass. I love this setting spray so much. It has the best mist, period. Like no other brand comes close to the mister on this. So shaking it up, it's brand new. And that is the final step for this fun New Year's Eve 2022 makeup look. So that wraps up this festive New Year's Eve 2022 makeup look. I had a blast doing this kind of makeup look. I love doing fun makeup looks like this for my channel. Side note, New Year's Eve is actually my least favorite holiday. It's like the day before my birthday. My birthday's on the 1st of January, and it's not my favorite time of year, but we'll get into that another time. I still enjoy doing fun and festive makeup looks. Even if you're not going out, it's still fun to like get dolled up. Even if you're gonna sit on the couch and watch the countdown with like champagne, it's still a blast. So let me know in the comments what you guys are doing, and I'll make sure I post on my stories and keep you updated on what I'm gonna do on New Year's Eve. I'm on Instagram. You can find my stories there. I'm at Makeup by Nikki LaRose. I'm also on TikTok, and I'll see you all in 2023. Happy New Year.